Tom Headley, thanks for coming in today in the studio with us. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Love to be here.
Absolutely. This is what it's all about, is getting together and putting some content out there. But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit of, the process, the real estate process, from when you first meet a client, and kind of take us from there, kind of what your thoughts are, and I can interject, when it comes to financing and whatnot.
So essentially, when you're working with a first-time home buyer, they come to you and say, we want to buy a home. Okay, like it's a big deal.
Yeah.
My first reaction to that is, have you spoken to a lender and are you pre-approved? And that's when I call you.
I love that. Yeah. Absolutely.
And say, I have a great guy. His name's Matt Lord. He will take care of you. What is the process from your perspective once that client calls you?
Yeah, tee it up. Absolutely. Yeah. Usually I'll start with communication. Do you prefer that I call you? Are you busy during the day? Do we need to connect after business hours? Really kind of fine tune, the communication process, because I feel like that's one of the most important parts of getting that pre-approval in place and having that open line of communication with those borrowers. But usually we're very high tech on our side of things, so I'll most likely after I call them and introduce myself, I'll send them a link to my website and suggest that they fill out an online application. Takes about 10-15 minutes. That creates a online borrower portal for them where they can fill out the application and then upload all of their supporting documents very securely. So, somebody who is employed by an employer, they'd send me 30 days worth of pay stubs, 2 years W-2s, 2 months worth of bank statements, that kind of thing. Somebody who's self-employed, they're always a little bit harder to get pre-approved. One of the benefits of owning your own business is being able to write off, some of the income that you bring in. So collecting 2 years worth of tax returns from self-employed borrowers is very important. And I would never issue a pre-approval or anything until, submitting to underwriting with somebody who owns their own business, because there are things that, you can actually factor back in after, any kind of write-offs or whatnot. And always having an underwriter stamp of approval makes me feel a little bit more comfortable before issuing that pre-approval.
Makes me feel more comfortable too, knowing that that client knows what they can afford.
Yes, absolutely.
It's also really good information for people to know, like some of the work that we do to get people ready to buy it to that point.
Absolutely.
So then at that point, you've got underwriting, you've got what they can afford for a monthly payment. So then we can come to a price point. And in our market, still in the Seattle market, like, okay, say you can afford, a $500,000 house. We need to look at $400,000 houses to make ourselves competitive. And from my real estate perspective, when I get a client back that has been fully underwritten, I can now sell that client not as a cash buyer, because cash is always king, but it's the closest thing to being cash, because they're fully underwritten.
You can waive their financing, which in this market is something that would put them a leg up to someone else.
Yeah, especially if we're in a competitive situation. Our leverage items are financing, inspection, addendums, and really that's what we have, other than paying more, than the list price.
Going over asking. No, and I truly feel that, that we can offer that at New American is getting them fully underwritten before they even go out and start looking, because now that you've got that stamp of approval, they're good as gold when it comes for the right house and property.
And from my perspective, that process can sometimes take a long time. You guys here at New American do a great job of not taking, because in a competitive market, I want to get out and looking at homes as fast as possible.
Absolutely.
So once they're pre-approved, then it's my job to find out what that client is looking for. Okay, so we can afford a $500,000 house or condo.
Right. Very few and far between out there, right?
okay, now what are your guys' wants? Like, what are yours important thing? You know, is it the neighborhood? Is it the schools? Is it you want one level, no stairs? Is a townhome okay? Is a condo okay? Do you want a yard? Do you want a fenced yard?
Right.
Like, just all of the things that people find important.
Absolutely.
When buying a home.
Yeah. And that's the quality that you bring to the table for all of your clients, is you determine what their wants and needs are and specify those in your searches for them.
And that goes back to exactly what you were saying about communication.
Yeah.
Like, just talk with your clients. Like, they know what they want.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
ask them.
Yeah.
Like,
Pick up the phone.
yeah, it's a relationship business.
Yes,
like,
it is.
That's what we're doing.
Love that. So once they are pre-approved, I assume you put them like on a search using the MLS, and then you send them listings. I know.
Correct.
I know that we've got so much information at our fingertips with the other Zillows and Redfins out there. They might even find the house.
I tell all my clients, like, we're in this together. If you find a house on Redfin and Zillow, send it to me.
Yep.
Like, I will set up the search in the MLS. And one thing that's good about the MLS is it comes a bit faster than it gets to those secondary sites. But those sites are still good tools for buyers and sellers to know.
Yeah.
You know, yes. And then in the MLS, I can set up a search that's as detailed as we want it to be: area, size, price, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, type of home. And then you see what it spits out, and then if it sends you a few homes, and then you send it to the client, and that's through email, and usually I'll text or call also. Hey, I just sent you a couple houses. Let me know what you think. Tell me if you love them, they're okay, hate them. Like, we're, like we said, we're in this together.
Right.
Like,
and you don't really know until you've gone through the process. I mean, especially with new buyers, you know, they haven't really gone through all of that and seen the struggles of, you know, getting beat out or, you know, going and looking at the home, and, you know, when you walk in, you know, or you don't.
Yeah, I've been with enough buyers and enough homes in the last 9 years. Like, you can tell when somebody walks in and they're like, nope. Nope. Okay, let's just go to the next.
Yep.
But you can also tell when they're like, ooh.
They love it.
Yeah.
Right. And then that gets exciting. And setting them up for success, obviously, and looking at maybe those lower price points first, and maybe not going to that $500,000 house, because they might get multiple offers. And now we're looking at $550,000, but their only approval is up for $5,000. And now they're like, oh, I really want this house. Yeah. Well, you have a larger down payment. Yeah. Maybe we can work that out. All right. So we're pre-approved. They found a house that's in their price range. They love it. They want to write an offer. What does that look like?
I mean, it's exciting, especially for first-time home buyers. They want something. So now we have to put together an offer that is the most competitive that we can make it. So highest price point. Talk about inspection. I'll never advise a client to waive inspection.
It's worth every penny.
It is. And, you know, there are some situations where we've had to do that before, and I've had clients inspect post-closing, but you need to know what's going on with the house. Okay, so we put together the offer, submit the offer to the listing agent. I call the listing agent myself and say, hey, I just emailed you my client's offer. It's a good offer. Can you confirm you received it? Then I'll tell you that we've submitted an offer, and I like to have the lender call the listing agent as well to talk about the clients, because you know them as well as I do because of what we talked about before. And then you just hope that hey, you ask the listing agent, hey, can you give me any information on where we're at? How many offers do you have in hand? You know, if it's a offer review date, you know, we could do a whole segment on being first in before the offer review date, or waiting until the last minute.
I know there's a lot of strategy involved there, and hoping that listing agent can share, you know, I know by law and, you know, by etiquette, they're not supposed to share too much, but, you know, if they can give you a little bit of insight on, you know,
and I've been on the offers. I've been on the other side too as a listing agent and a review date, and you try and be as truthful as possible, but you're not trying to leverage other offers against other offers. I do not like that at all. Just being honest and so, but then when I'm a buyer, like getting as much information as I can, and then you just hope for the best. And I've gone from anywhere from writing 18 offers on 18 different places and being refused until the 18th house to writing one offer and we get the house.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. Right?
Yeah, right? And then once that happens, great. So now we need earnest money.
Yep. Love that. Yes. And not everybody understands what earnest money is and how much earnest money we should put down.
Correct.
You know, do you release it and make it non-refundable?
Right.
I mean, these are the kind of things that people were having to do in the crazy markets back in the COVID years.
Yes.
And then, you know, even so in some situations today, having to do that. And I myself always have a hard time. I'm not an agent, so you know, releasing earnest money is definitely you know, probably a.
And then if you have an inspection and you've already released your earnest money, I mean, there is a chance you're going to lose 20 grand.
Right.
Like if that's what their earnest money is.
Right.
You know, and clients a lot of times have, what is earnest money for? We could also do a whole nother segment on what earnest money for, but I just tell them, it goes towards closing costs. It's just your skin in the game.
Skin in the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we do our best to protect that money from start to finish.
Yeah.
There are situations where a seller may take a buyer's earnest money because they decided late in the process, you know, this isn't the home for them, or they get cold feet. Sorry, you know, that's why the financing contingency and the inspection contingencies are in place to protect that. But if you're waiving those, it might not benefit.
You tell clients that those addendums are in place to protect you.
Yes.
Like that's what they're for.
Yes.
But things can get sticky when, you know, if you're in a competitive situation.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think Aaron had a client that walked away from like a couple $100,000.
Yeah. You did.
Because they got cold feet, and I'm just.
It's not a world you and I live in.
No, it is. That's a different world if you can walk away from that kind of money, right? I mean, yeah.
So get the earnest money. Usually it's 3 to 5 days. Inspection, I usually try to do between 5 and 7 days. You know, it's 7 to 10 on the purchase and sale.
And that includes the review time or your inspection response, I should say.
Yeah.
So once you have the inspection, you have so many days.
I mean, another segment we can do. But then you have 3 days to respond, and then 3 days to get a response if you're asking for, especially if you're asking for like a licensed contractor to come out and check foundation or check roof.
Right. Those are big ones, especially when it comes to financing too, because if the appraiser calls that out, we can't close until those items are addressed.
Right.
If it's more cosmetic, maybe ask for a credit from the seller, and then that can pay for the buyer's closing costs, and then they can fix it after closing. Right.
Yeah. And there are a number of ways you and I and the client can work with to try and massage to get the deal to the end.
Yes.
But roof, plumbing, electrical, foundation, or big ticket items.
Yes. And any health or safety concern, obviously, you know, if that comes up on an inspection, I would hope the seller might know.
Right.
I mean, and that's why pre-inspections are nice, because now they are up to speed on, you know, where the property is at, you know, as far as, you know, any damages or any, you know, concerns that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
So.
And have been around long enough to walk into a house and like, ooh, like that roof needs work.
Needs some work.
Like
blue tarp, red flag.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You know, you notice that the house kind of tilts this way, and you know, like not ideal.
Right. Right.
So we get past the inspection, get past, you know, what anything we're going to ask for. Credits we're going to ask for, seller responds, we get assigned around, everything's signed around. Then it's
go time.
It's go. Like generally it's a 30-day close.
Yep.
Sometimes you can go faster. Sometimes it takes longer. If they're fully underwritten, like we were saying, it can usually be a couple weeks.
Yeah. Just the turn time on the appraisal, and then clear title and an insurance binder, 'cause most of all of the borrower conditions have already been satisfied with the approval. So it is nice to have that in your front pocket with that underwritten loan when you're making that offer, because that also is motivating to a seller. Oh shoot, we can close in 2 weeks.
And then that's when I have discussions with the listing agent, like, when do you want to close?
Right.
We can close at this point. Do you need more time? Then you get into, do you need a rent back? Because where's the seller going?
Right.
I did a deal a year or two ago that was contingent on contingent on contingent on contingent.
Oh,
and it was, there was four houses, 8 parties involved.
That's stressful.
Through multiple states. And it's just a matter of educating your people.
And having the right support too. I mean, obviously, with all of those contingencies, everyone needs to be doing their job.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Lender on your purchase, the lender on the other.
Purchase,
So that can get a little convoluted and
luckily, I was on the listing side for that one. The buyer's agent, she was fantastic.
Nice.
And she's still a friend and she knew what she was doing, and we pulled it off.
That's awesome.
And then it's, how do you want the keys?
I can deliver them as soon as we have recording numbers, and that's the fun part.
That
right?
is the best.
Is that when you're handing over
delivering
those keys, it's so fulfilling, and I love making those phone calls when the loan closes, and we've been released to record from escrow. I get on the phone, I call my agent, I call my clients, I call the listing agent, and that truly is the most fulfilling part about our job.
Yeah, I agree. And, especially for a first-time home buyer, it's a good investment, guys. I'm excited for you. Cool house.
Absolutely.
I feel like we uncovered 4 future topics to talk about.
We can really dive
videos.
in. Yes, I love that. We'll put those together for the next segments. But there's lots involved in the process, and like you said, communication, timelines, all of those things are factor into the process, which can be 30 days, 14 days, just depending on what works for everybody. But one question I did have is, you have an underwritten loan, you've got, the ability to close in a couple weeks. Seller does not. I mean, they need a full 30 days, or like you said, maybe even need a rent back. Do you ever have any, back and forth or any objections from the seller, that you can potentially close early, but they're wanting that rent back or that extra time because they do need to move, or they're relocating out of state, things like that?
I've had that happen. Generally in the listing, if the listing agent knows what they're doing, seller needs rent back or close date to be X date.
That's good. So that listing agent is doing their job, letting the expectations.
So then I can tell my buyers, hey guys, I know I've said we have the ability to close in 2 weeks. Sellers can't close until X date. What are your thoughts?
Right. And they could have a lease coming due. They've got to be out by a certain date.
And nobody wants to move twice.
No.
That's the worst.
Absolutely. No, that's just setting the right expectations and getting that groundwork done up front so that everybody's on the same page. Because, nobody wants to move twice.
Right. No.
I haven't moved in 21 years, and I'm good with that.
We made one big move, and that was 12 years ago.
I couldn't even imagine moving across the country or halfway across the country. I should say.
Side note, the part moving to Ohio, the Browns paid for that.
Oh, nice.
Moving back to Seattle.
Big difference.
We had a Mayflower truck going to Ohio. We were in pods on the way home.
Yes. That's the way to do it. Love it. Well, thank you so much for talking about the process, from the finance side to the real estate side. Always good to get that information out there to our audience.
Love it, brother.
Tom Headley, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.